picture a European summer, 1947. The world was still breathing the tense relief of the post-war era, but in the skies, a new age of mysteries was beginning to dawn. Just weeks before, on the other side of the Atlantic, pilot Kenneth Arnold had shocked the planet with his sighting of flying saucers, ushering in the modern UFO era. But here, in the serenity of the Italian Alps, a painter and professor, seeking only the tranquility of the mountains, was about to experience an encounter that would challenge his entire understanding of reality. What happens when the peace of a summer morning is shattered by something that doesn't belong to this world? And what if that something looks back? This is the story of Luigi Raposo, and an encounter that would mark him forever. It was August 14th, 1947. The morning sun bathed Villa Santina, a small haven near the imposing Carnic Prealps, Macizo Central de Carne. Luigi Raposo, or Roanes as he was known by his friends and in artistic circles, felt the fresh mountain air as he walked. He carried a backpack with the essentials for a day of exploration: a snack, water, and in his hand a mountaineer's ice axe, a common tool for those who ventures into such landscapes. Around 9:14 a.m., while following the winding course of a stream, something unusual caught his eye. Ahead, nestled in a crevice of the mountain as if carefully placed there, an object gleamed. It was a disc, a vibrant metallic red, approximately 33 feet in diameter. On top, a translucent dome with what appeared to be an antenna stood out against the bare rock. Curiosity, that driving force of explorers and artists, compelled Luigi closer. What could it be? A secret prototype? An unknown natural phenomenon? Each step brought him closer to a revelation he could never have anticipated. About 65 feet from the object, Luigi noticed movement. Two small figures, which at first glance could have been mistaken for children, were near the base of the disc. He called out, perhaps with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. The figures turned and began to walk towards him. It was then, as the distance shortened, that Luigi's blood ran cold. Those were not children. Before him stood beings of entirely alien complexion. They were between 3 feet and a little over 4 feet tall. A diminutive stature, but their proportions were unsettling. They wore tight-fitting suits of a deep, dark blue, with red collars and red details at the ankles of their pants. Their heads were disproportionately large for their slender bodies, covered by a kind of snug-fitting hood or cap that perfectly molded to their cranial contours. There wasn't a strand of hair, no eyelashes, no eyebrows. Their skin, smooth and exposed on their faces, had a greenish hue, almost sickly in the morning light. The nose was straight, almost a vertical line, and the mouth, a thin slit, curved downwards like an inverted V. But it was the eyes that were paralyzing. Enormous, protruding, with a dark ring at the base, a piercing yellowish green. The pupils, vertical, feline, seemed to analyze Luigi's every detail, every tremor, every hesitation. The air seemed to grow denser, the sound of the distant stream muffled by the incredulity of the moment. The fear was palpable, but Luigi, perhaps in an instinctive act of self-affirmation, or to try to understand the situation, asked them to identify themselves. With the ice axe still in his hand, he gestured towards the red disc. Could this movement, the metallic tip of the ice axe glinting in the sun, have been interpreted as a threat? The reaction was immediate and technological. One of the beings raised its hand to the belt it wore. From it, a beam, a kind of jet of vapor or smoke, shot out directly at Luigi. The impact was like an invisible shockwave. He felt his strength drain, his muscles stiffen, and he fell heavily to the ground. The ice axe flew from his hand, as if torn away by a magnetic force, and skittered across the terrain. He was immobilized, conscious, but unable to move a single muscle. Panic set in as the two beings approached. He watched, with horror and fascination, their hands, long, with 8 slender fingers resembling delicate claws, picking up his ice axe and other belongings that had fallen, including his lunch tin. There were no words, only cold, efficient action. With Luigi's items in their possession, the beings turned and walked back into the disc. Seconds later, the reddish craft rose silently, hovered for an instant, and then, in a dizzying acceleration, vanished into the blue sky as if it had never been there. Luigi remained on the ground, a prisoner in his own body, for what felt like an eternity. Gradually, the feeling of paralysis began to subside. It was around noon when he finally managed to gather the strength to stand, trembling and disoriented. The site of the encounter was empty, silent. His ice axe, his lunch, taken. Only the vivid memory of the encounter remained, seared into his mind. He picked up his backpack and made his way back to the inn, his body aching, his mind in turmoil. He slept for an hour, a heavy, restless sleep. The next day, the need to understand, to find some physical proof, led him back to the site. He searched for the ice axe, scanned the area where the UFO had rested. Nothing. The mountain kept its secret. But Luigi didn't give up. Intrigued, feeling that something so extraordinary couldn't have gone completely unnoticed, he began to discreetly ask around the vicinity. Had anyone else seen anything strange that morning? Luck, or perhaps fate, smiled upon him. After some searching, he found 2 witnesses who, unknowingly, would corroborate crucial parts of his experience. An elderly man who had been peacefully sitting in the square of Villa Santina reported seeing around 8:30 a.m., before Luigi's encounter, a red globe descending behind the mountain. A little later, a mother and her son provided the other piece of the puzzle. The boy, with the innocence and sharp attention of children, recounted seeing around 10 a.m. a red ball, ascending at great speed and disappearing into the sky. The times matched. The arrival and departure of the mysterious craft Luigi had encountered. He wasn't crazy. Something had really happened. Luigi Raposo Joans, the painter, the professor, carried the memory of this encounter with him until the end of his days. Born in 1905, he passed away in 1968, taking with him the untold details of that day when the ordinary became extraordinary. How could Luigi Raposo, on a simple summer walk, have anticipated that he would become the protagonist of such a direct and disconcerting contact with the inexplicable? His story, occurring in the early days of the flying saucer craze, remains an intriguing echo from a time when the sky seemed closer and full of possibilities. And what do you think about this account, straight from 1947 Italy? Does the description of the beings in the craft seem familiar to other cases we've explored here on Alien Cases? Do you believe the additional witnesses strengthen the truthfulness of Luigi's experience? We'd love to know your opinion in the comments below. Your perspective enriches our quest for answers. If this journey into the unknown captured you and made you reflect, don't forget to leave a like. This small gesture is like a beacon to YouTube, showing that you value investigations like this and helping alien cases reach other explorers of cosmic mysteries. It's a simple click, but it tremendously boosts our work. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any enigma we unravel.